What are you doing? What are you doing? Ooh, is that nice? Is that nice? Yes, it is. My fellow flames, welcome back to another Wuthering Waves video. My name is Amethyst, and today I'm going to be giving you my full final thoughts and feelings of the Wuthering Waves 2.7 story. I've had a day and I've slept on it. I've managed to process my emotions and feelings so I can now give you a more honest review without being too biased and relying too much on the hype and juiced up on the hype. So, Wuthering Waves 2.7. Was it good? Was it good? This was one of the best Wuthering Waves stories written, period, point blank. I think this story tops everything we've seen. Since the game came out, this is by far, 2.7 is by far, the best story we've ever had in Wuthering Waves, period. This was one of the best written stories I've played in Gacha, I think, point blank and period. I mean, this story had everything you could have possibly wanted and then some. It had great action. It had great writing. It had great character development. It had so many twists and turns I didn't see coming. It answered so many questions we've been asking since the game's launch within the story. Almost every single character we've met along the way through 2.x had a good amount of screen time. I mean, that's one of the things I was mainly worried about in this story. If it was the finale, I knew it was going to be quite long, but I was kind of hoping that every single character had a good amount of screen time and a good amount of dialogue, and they did. In fact, some of these characters had more dialogue than I thought they were going to give them. They had their fair share of action. I mean, these characters had spotlight. Each of these characters that we've met along the way have had their spotlight in this finale. This was quite literally the Avengers Endgame of Wuthering Waves, and the fact that they treated it this well, oh, it's just amazing. I'm so happy how Kuro Games handled the finale. They couldn't have handled it better. I don't think they could have written a better ending for this story arc, for the entirety of this overarching story. I'm so glad of how they've handled it. This wasn't just a finale for 2.x. This wasn't just a finale for Renisita. Oh, no. This was also a finale for the 1.x story. This was a true end game finale. Kuro Games really went, we're gonna go back over there to Huanglong. We're gonna go back over there and we're gonna take things from there and bring them here for your pleasure, for your excitement. They really cooked and went, yeah, we're gonna answer questions that you've been asking since launch, since 1.x. Exactly, and then we're gonna bring them here for you to go crazy about. I don't think I've screamed in a Wuthering Waves story like this before. I lost my head so many times. Let me tell you something right now as well. Spoilers, by the way. If you don't want to be spoiled about the story, click off this video right now, because there's gonna be something that I'm gonna reveal to you no one in the Wuthering Waves community saw coming. They really went back and brought the entire Black Shores cast and brought them back into the story. They brought Encore, they brought Alto, they brought Shorekeeper back. Camellia makes an appearance in this story. And the thing that I think people never in a million years saw coming, they brought Calcaro into the story. They made him enter frame in one of the most aura-farming badass ways possible to join the fight. It was a spectacle. It was a cinematic spectacle. It was a cinematic marvel that you wouldn't have got anywhere else. The villains in this story were top-notch, top bananas. They were absolutely amazing in this story. We got the return of Scar. We got the return of Frolova. Cristoforo obviously was in this story, and an absolute insane surprise, a shock to us all. We finally got the reveal of the Architect. We finally met the leader of the Fraxidus within this story, and it was done beautifully. And this guy isn't a pushover. This guy means business. He is very powerful, and it really does do a good job in this story, showing how powerful the Architect is and how he's always 10 steps ahead, how he's planned things from the beginning. This was a very good introduction to another amazing villain who I cannot wait to see more of in the future. Galbrina was written and done near enough perfectly in this story. It shows you more about who she is and where she came from and how she became Galbrina, how she's become the bounty hunter that we know today. It shows you more about the relationship between her and her prime echo being Chimera. And let me just tell you something about Chimera. This character is sinister. He is evil to the core. This guy is ruthless, merciless, doesn't care about anyone else but himself. He may do some good things, but it's only really to benefit him. He is such an amazing character, a well-written character, but let me tell you something right now. This character does not care about anything, anyone, but power and about himself. Chimera does a very good job at bouncing off of both Rover and Galbrina. The banter between the three of them, the dialogue between the three of them, and the relationship and the chemistry that these three characters have around each other are really good and really well written. I'm very happy how they dealt with these three characters interacting with each other, especially Rover and Chimera. Those two do not like each other at first. Those two really do not get on. They butt heads a lot. They have different ideals, and it's blatantly obvious that Rover has a problem with Chimera, but Chimera is very intimidating, and he taunts Rover and taunts all these other characters, basically toys with them and mimics them and mocks them, and it's so well done. I loved what they did with this character. Shu Yuen also shows up in this story in one of the most aura-farming ways you could have possibly imagined. He just rocks up, says a few lines, says I'm here on business, this is why I'm here to do this, deliver that, say this, and then he dips off. But he also has an amazing spotlight moment where he is here. The reason why he is solely here is to capture Scar and bring him back to prison. They do explain how Scar got out of prison, but Shu Yuen has been sent by Jinshi to bring him back to prison. And let me just tell you, this guy, when he squares up to Scar and he's like, I'm here to take you in, dead or alive, but then he says, I never intended to bring you in alive. He was always intending to kill Scar and bring his body back to Jinzhou because he deemed Scar too dangerous to be left alive. And oh, it was chef's kiss peak. Those of you that were skipping Shu Yuen, when you watch this happen, when you watch this interaction between Shu Yuen and Scar, just Shu Yuen's appearance in this story is going to most likely make you summon for Shu Yuen if you wasn't already summoning for him. Like when I say Kuro Games had the golden ink and was writing this script, they really had the golden ink and they were writing the perfect ending. They were writing the near perfect script for the finale of the Rinascita arc. It was phenomenal. Now, there are loads of other shocks and surprises I could talk about, but the one thing I want to finish off this video and talk about is the ending. The ending of this story was absolute cinema. Literally, just absolute cinema. It really was the definition of absolute cinema. It was a near perfect ending. The boss fight at the end was literally Avengers Assemble. It was the Avengers versus Thanos at Endgame. We had every single resonator from Rinascita. We had the Dragon of Dirge. We had Erenosa, the Lioness of Glory. All of us together fighting against Leviathan. We really did have an Avengers Endgame, Avengers Assemble moment, and it was done phenomenally. The Leviathan battle has two phases. Yes, it wasn't a one and done boss like the majority of these boss fights have been in Wuthering Waves. It was a two-phase boss fight where you, Galbrina, and Kartathea team up to scrap Leviathan. And as you're fighting Leviathan, NPC variants of the other cast of the Rinascita Resonators come in and scrap Leviathan with you. And there's a button that you can press. Do we remember the old team up ability back in the Somnoir where all three of them do like the team ultimate? Yeah, you can activate that multiple times where all of these resonators will team up, do an ultimate attack while you're coordinating attacking the Leviathan. It was amazing. It was a boss fight that would give Elden Ring a run for its money. It was cinematic as hell. I couldn't have asked for a better boss fight to finish off the Rinascita arc. And the cutscenes that follow after, I'm not going to say anything about it, but my goodness, arguably one of, if not the best cutscene we've ever had in Wuthering Waves, in gacha gaming. Honestly, this experience of the Rinascita ending, the finale of the Rinascita arc, made me feel something I haven't felt playing a game for a long ass time. I had an immense amount of joy. I was so mentally and emotionally drained after the Rinascita arc's finale because there was just so many emotions in the air. I was showing so many different emotions playing through this story, I think I screamed at the top of my lungs a good amount of times playing this story. It was phenomenal. And the end cutscene, the final battle cutscene, contains so many amazing tidbits in terms of lore. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, what the hell does this mean? I've got a few videos going out over the next couple of days describing and explaining what this means, but let me tell you something right now. We find out something very important about Rover, and we find out something very important about Abby. And oh my goodness, these two secrets, when they're revealed, was mind-blowing. We kind of assumed this to be the case with one of them, but the other, no clue. This was amazing. It was astonishing. There were so many references to other games and anime in this story. Kuro Games, you can tell they had a blast and had so much fun writing this. We had DMC references. We had Dragon Ball references. There was so many to count. I can't wait for you guys to see them because, oh my god, it was amazing. Okay, excitement over. We've covered most of the things I wanted to talk about. There are other things I could talk about the story, but I want you guys to experience them yourselves in case you haven't already. I've spoken about a good few spoilers, but I don't exactly have the time to talk about everything I loved about this story because there was so many things. But at the end, there was a 45-minute to an hour-long end post-final boss fight where you say goodbye to all of the resonators that you've met throughout Renacita and you go back to the Black Shores with Galbrina. Yes, Galbrina does come back to the Black Shores with you guys, and she does have a few interesting dialogues between you and Alto, and it leads on to a few things that could be happening in the future of the story. We do indeed find out where we're going next. The Fractidus do announce where they're going next as the villains, where they're going to be traveling next, which kind of confirms where we're going next. The pacing overall for the story was very, 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 very good. There wasn't too many yapping sessions. There wasn't too many things which made you sit through black screens, white texts, or white screens and black texts. There wasn't too many things that made you go, bloody hell, this is nagging on a bit. Come on, let's pick up the pace a little bit. Other than Act 10, but Act 10, everything was necessary to build up to Act 11, which was the final hurrah, the really big end game thing. The entirety of Act 11 was all action. Everything was going on. There was no time for downtime, and the downtime parts were all meaningful and made you just go, okay, I'm invested. I want to see what's going on here. The only part of the story that made me feel like it was dragging was the last 45 minutes to an hour, because after we beat the final boss, after we defeat Leviathan, we go back to Raguna. Raguna's back to normal, but then we have to explore around the entire city, talk to everyone individually, go and find Galbrina, and then we talk to Galbrina a little bit, and then we have to go and talk to other characters, and then we go to the harbor where we're finally doing the last goodbye with every single resonator that we've met in Renacita before we go back to the Black Shores. The goodbye is a little bit long-winded, but still emotional. I still really enjoyed it, and I still very much got a little bit upset that we were saying goodbye to these characters narratively wise. And then when we got back to the Black Shores, there was even more dialogue between Alto, Galbrina, and Rover, and then that's when the big reveal at the end is Rover is going to recruit Galbrina into the Black Shores. And then we get another cutscene, which is another very long talkative cutscene, which was really good for lore, but overall this is the only part, like those last 45 minutes to an hour long was the only part of the story that made me go, okay, it's dragging on, let's wrap it up now. But overall the story was very, very, very good, very enjoyable, very action-packed, very emotional. Lots of emotions were going into this story while playing it, and I'm still gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I'm still gonna give it a 10 out of 10. This story, I would 100% play it again. One day, I hope Kuro have the ability to go, okay, you can replay story modes, you can replay story chapters, but only the story chapter, then it goes back to the hub world where you select the story chapters you want to replay. I would 100% play this story chapter again. I would play Act 11 again. Absolutely. I thought this story was amazing. Chef's kiss. Mwah, perfect. But let me know down below in the comments what you thought of the Wuthering Waves 2.7 story. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Let me know down below. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new, turn on bell notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy and have a good rest of your day.